So thank you very much for inviting the IEA to the launch event for the COGEN World Coalition. So let me briefly set the scene by reflecting on our current energy security challenges and sharing a view on the need to accelerate clean energy transitions to achieve not only cleaner, but also more secure energy systems. Next, please. So let me start with the oil market. So as a result of Russia's the invasion to Ukraine, the world may well be facing its biggest oil supply shock in decades, with huge implications for economies and societies. We are starting to see a fall in Russian oil supply, with recent reports suggesting that the production in April fell by around 1 million barrels per day compared to March. We see the potential for losses expanding to around 3 million barrels per day from June, as sanctions and embargoes against Russia come into full effect, and as buyers step away from new deals. Lower demand expectations and the emergency stock releases are key factors in rebalancing the market and ensuring security of supply at all times. Since the outbreak of the invasion, we have reduced our forecast for global oil demand by more than 1 million barrels per day. The demand revision stems from a weaker outlook for Russia, the aviation sector, and the surge in COVID cases in China. While the outlook remains highly uncertain, one thing is clear: affordable and the secure oil supply remains a critical issue. And so IEA countries have pledged more than 280 million barrels from their reserves that are coming to the market in the months to come. On the 1st of April, the IEA member countries agreed to release 120 million barrels of emergency oil stocks. That's the largest release in the history of the IEA. This comes on top of the more than 60 million barrels that the IEA released in March as an initial response following the Russia's invasion. And that's a total of nearly 183 million barrels coming from the IEA collective actions, including nearly 50 million barrels of refined products. In addition, the United States of America will release 100 million barrels of their SPR stocks in the coming months. So this oil will progressively coming online over the period from March to October, with a specific type of oil and timeline for deliver, depending on each country's emergency systems and circumstances. The IEA emergency stock releases provided welcome relief to markets that already had low buffer of stocks and the spare capacity prior to this crisis. And these actions demonstrate the strong unity and willingness to protect the global economy from the social and economic impacts of this crisis. Next, please. And it's not only about the supply, it's also about demand. So the IEA launched on the 18th of March, the 10-point plan on reducing oil demand in advanced economies, with the practical advice on how lower demand can reduce current market uncertainty and volatility. And actions include reducing business travel, working from home, using public transport and car-free Sundays, and many more. While the IEA actions, these actions are focused on the advanced economies, but the impact would be even higher if adopted in emerging economies as well. Next, please. Very briefly on the natural gas, the global LNG market will remain very tight due to limited additional export capacity and higher LNG flows to Europe to reduce dependence on Russian gas. And if tensions escalate and the gas prices do not moderate, the LNG imports by Asian economies like China, India, and others can be lower. Next, please. On the 3rd of March, the IEA released another, the other 10-point plan, 10-point action plan, together with the European Union, with a series of measures that can reduce Russian natural gas imports with 50 BCM or 1/3 within 1 year. And they are notably by not signing any new gas contracts with Russia and maximizing gas supplies from other sources, and that's LNG, ensuring gas storages are filling ahead of the next winter, the lifting all barriers in permitting for accelerating the deployment of wind and solar, making the most of existing low emission energy sources such as nuclear and renewables, and also ramping up the energy efficiency measures in homes and businesses, and simply reducing the gas use. Next, please. This is my last one. So the IEA had started discussing the new concept of energy security, and that's security of clean energy transitions, well before the current energy crisis. And actually in the G20 last year, the IEA has been tasked by its Italian presidency to work on the new and evolving concept of energy security, and this became the basis for the Naples principles for the energy collaboration by G20. And looking at these items on the screen, participants today can easily see the important and increasing role that the cogeneration systems should play in achieving not only cleaner, but also more secure and affordable energy future. When I was invited to the COGEN Europe annual conference in November last year, I presented the IEA's net zero by 2050 roadmap, which shows a critical role that energy efficiency improvements must play, and that the power generation and heat production would need to shift to renewables and other low carbon sources very quickly to stay on track to achieve net zero by 2050. While the current energy crisis is calling us to renew focus on secure and affordable energy sources, it is also urging us to accelerate investments into low carbon energy sources and technologies. The Japanese Prime Minister Kishida, for instance, recently commented that if Japan can restart one nuclear reactor, it could free up about 1 million tons per year of LNG, natural gas, to global markets. This should help another market like Europe, which needs more non-Russian natural gas. In addition to wind and solar PV power generation, net zero energy systems would need a lot more bioenergy, solar thermal, geothermal, low carbon hydrogen for heat and power generations. So cogeneration should contribute on these fronts, and also in providing flexibility to the power systems with higher share of variable renewables, with its dispatchable power generations, energy storage in the form of heat, and with demand side responses. I would like to stop today, and I wish you all very fruitful discussions and the best success for this very important event. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Sadamori, thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting, and we'll come back, I'm sure, to some of your points in our Q&A, but for now, thank you very much.